ban a great law. She cited it by statute. She celebrated when they overturned Roe v. Wade, which made abortion bans like this possible. She wanted this to happen. They all did. Do not let them lie to you. And let me be clear. Arizonans support abortion rights. They don't want politicians like Kari Lake forcing themselves into your doctor's office across Arizona and telling women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. They don't want politicians like Kari Lake making medical decisions that should only be made by a woman and her family and her doctor, which is why I'm going to do everything I can to defeat her. And let me tell you, I am a Marine, and I know how to win a tough fight. I joined the Marines to serve my country and protect the very rights and freedoms that Kari Lake wants to rip away. And I will not stand for it, and neither should you. The choice is clear in this election, and it couldn't be any more clearer. Kari Lake wants to ban abortion. I want to protect abortion rights. That's why we're going to win this Senate race, and we're going to codify Roe. But we also need Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House to sign that bill when it passes the Senate and protect abortion rights in America once and for all. Arizona is crucial to that plan, and it won't be easy. But with this team, I am ready for that fight. We are ready for that fight. Gracias, and let's go fight.
Please welcome Secretary of State Adrian Fontes.
Buenos dias, Arizonenses. How are we doing today? It is not with great joy that we assemble because of what has happened here recently. However, we must be clear-eyed in this moment, in our efforts and the way we move forward through November. For election administrators like myself and those in our 15 counties moving forward, we can and we will do at least as well as we did in our presidential preference election, where we ran one of the best elections Arizona has yet seen in the first statewide election under my administration. Not a single issue across the state. And let's give those election workers a big round of applause for the work that they do. I want to be absolutely clear today, the entire state of Arizona, as is appropriate, not only as your Secretary of State, but today as your acting governor, I am very proud to welcome Vice President Harris to the Grand Canyon State. And now let me take off my official hat for a moment and move to a statewide Democratic office holder hat. They meant for this to happen to us. They meant for this to happen with the law that they passed under the prior governor's administration. They celebrated when the Dobbs decision defeated Roe. And they are backpedaling like no one has ever seen them backpedal now. Because they know you are energized. They know that Arizona is going to move forward, not backward. And they know that there is a comeuppance when you interfere with our families, when you interfere with our daughters and our wives, when you interfere in our personal affairs, you will see consequences. Take that anger that you have. Take that boiling, fuming anger and move it into action. Many of us who run elections can walk and chew gum at the same time. I can separate my opinions on issues from my duty in office. I have done so and I will continue to do so. You as advocates need to be out there knocking on doors, making phone calls, talking with your neighbors, because we cannot let this stand. We cannot and we will not. We will move forward because that's the only way that we can. And in the old phrase that continues to ring true here in southern Arizona, as it does for many thousands across the United States and the world, let me hear you say it. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. And we will move forward for our future with the steady hand that we have in the White House, a face looking to tomorrow, not to yesterday. You can make it happen. Have that determination and that grit, and let's do what needs to be done in November. Thank you.
Please welcome President and CEO of Reproductive Freedom for All, Minnie Timaraju.
Hey! Woo! Look at you, Tucson. You look so good. It's just incredible to be here today with all of you. You know, it's been a tough week. We've had really bad news, right? And when I got the call to come on out to Arizona, there was no place else I wanted to be than right here with you. You are such fighters. You are such champions for reproductive freedom. And I know we're going to fix this as fast as we can, right? I'm Minnie Timaraju, President and CEO of Reproductive Freedom for All, and I'm so proud to be here with you today during this pivotal moment for this fight here in Arizona, but across the country. All eyes are here, but you know we've got this fight all across the country. You know, it's been 2 years since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the court that Donald Trump bragged about appointing, let's be clear. And as Americans, we're being forced to reckon with this nightmare state of abortion access in our country that, let's be clear, extremist MAGA Republicans have wrought. 21 states have eliminated access and restricted access because of these abortion bans, and now we're facing the really life-threatening and dangerous consequences of these bans, and you're going to hear a lot more about that today. But look, since Donald Trump orchestrated this, the end of a federal right to abortion, and he's trying to change the narrative here, but we're not going to let him, right? We're not going to let him. Not to mention Kerry Lake and his cronies here in the state. Yeah, we can do that again. Not to mention Kerry Lake. I mean, she's a piece of work. I mean, I was just down here a short minute ago campaigning for Katie Hobbs, and we just heard this. I mean, we know, right, Kerry? We know. We know that you did this, and we know Donald Trump did this, right? Listen, he and his allies, they just can't wait to pass even more cruel bans in the face of near constant reports of the harm. They're reading the headlines, they're hearing the stories that we're hearing, and they cannot stop passing these bans and imposing these restrictions on American families all across the country. But nobody knows more about this than you right here in Arizona right now. The ban that's on your books, you've seen it firsthand, that what happens with the freedom to decide if, when, and how to have a family, and that's what we're talking about, right? A fundamental freedom has to be determined by where you live, how much money you make, and your ability to travel. You have to leave your own state. So Arizonans, you've seen what these bans were intended to do. Criminalize doctors, stop women and pregnant people from accessing abortion, no matter the consequences. And it's a good reminder again that Donald Trump is on the record multiple times talking about how women and providers and doctors need to be punished. That's what this has always been about, right? This has always been about power and control and punishing us for the equity and the equality we deserve to have in this country. That is not what America is about. It is certainly not what Arizona is about. And we're going to show them that in November. So this is exactly why I'm here and why our members are here, and we're fighting back. We've got to elect Ruben Gallego to the U.S. Senate. When I say the path to restoring Roe and codifying a federal right to abortion runs through Arizona, it runs through Arizona, y'all. I mean, you got a local fight, and we got to be here. We got to get this done. But you also have the eyes of a nation on you. I'm from Texas. I am telling you. I know. Look, I'm proud to be from Texas. You know, I'm from Houston. It's a blue city. We're fighting back. We're fighting back, right? But we cannot win without you in Arizona sending Ruben Gallego to the U.S. Senate. And we cannot win without sending President Biden and Kamala Harris back to the White House. Just a second about Kamala Harris. I mean, what a fighter. I mean, she was built for this moment. We are so incredibly lucky to have this leader, this fighter, this champion in the vice president's office, leading this fight for reproductive freedoms across the country, right here in Arizona and beyond. I've had the privilege of watching her up close. You're going to see her in a minute, and she's just so passionate, but she's also strategic, and she's the fighter we need right now to win and for Joe Biden to be back in the White House. So I'm going to ask all of you, are you ready to join us in mobilizing your friends and family? Are you ready to join us in getting your colleagues and community members mobilized? Are you ready to elect leaders who we know will fight for freedoms and ensure the right to abortion is on the ballot so Arizonans can restore it and enshrine it in your state constitution? Well, I am too, and we are ready. And it's been a privilege and an honor, and I cannot wait for you to hear the amazing champions up next. Thank you so much, Arizona. Thank you so much, Tucson. I can't wait to see you on the trail. Let's win.
Please welcome Senator Priya Sundararajan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Priya Sundararajan, Senator Priya Sundararajan, and I represent our wonderful Tucson at the state legislature. I have been working with my Democratic colleagues since the beginning of this session to protect abortion access, long before the 1864 ruling came down from the state Supreme Court. And this session, I introduced legislation to protect access to contraception in Arizona because I knew where we were going. We were sounding the alarm, all of us, on the extreme Arizona Republicans from our state legislature all the way up to Congress who were looking to strip away access to medication abortions, contraception, and essential medical services like IVF. And I'm here today, again, with my fellow Democrats to sound that alarm again. An abortion ban that was written 160 years ago has now been reinstated. When that bill was written, women couldn't own a home. Women couldn't vote. Rape was legal. And the age of consent was 10 years old. And this is all happening now because Donald Trump dismantled Roe v. Wade, and this is all part of their playbook. Donald Trump installed the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe, and at the same time, our Arizona legislators here passed a law to take us back 100 years in time. They specifically wrote into that Arizona law from a few years ago that the 1864 ban stays in place. And now they're ready to pretend it never happened. Trump and my Republican colleagues are attempting to walk back their positions and lie to Arizonans. We will not allow that to happen. We've all watched, as they've passed abortion bans. They've instituted a 24-hour waiting period for abortions and much more. I was even pregnant with my now 2-year-old, when they passed a ban on abortions after receiving the results of a genetic test. They continue. And over the last few sessions, Arizona Republicans have passed fetal personhood legislation. Make no mistake, every Republican in the House and Senate voted in support of that fetal personhood legislation, which means they are in lockstep with the Trump agenda. Donald Trump and Republicans here in Arizona are complicit in this ban and in a nationwide attempt to ban access to the range of reproductive health care, from contraceptives to abortion to IVF. They don't plan to stop until our rights are gone. It's not right. It's not right that Arizonans need to brace ourselves every few years in hopes that our fundamental rights won't change. Abortion is on the ballot this year, from the ballot initiative to the presidency, and, in my view, most importantly, in the state legislature. Because both the Arizona House and Senate have a 1-seat deficit in each chamber for Democrats. And flipping just 2 seats will stop these attacks on reproductive freedom. So there's only one path. There's only one path forward to restoring our freedoms. We must vote for President Biden. We must vote for Vice President Harris. And we must vote for Democrats up and down the ticket. Up and down. So that Arizona families know that our freedoms are protected. Thank you.
Please welcome Mayor Regina Romero.
Buenas tardes, TUCSON. Muy buenas tardes, good afternoon. It's an honor to be with you here today, welcoming the most chingona of them all, our Vice President, to the beautiful city of Tucson. I'd like to begin by grounding ourselves and acknowledging the histories of these lands. We are standing on the lands that have been traditionally stewarded by the Tohono O'odham and the Pascua Yaqui people who have lived in the Sonoran Desert for thousands of years. We must know our histories so that we know where we're going. And it's a real joy to be with you here today after a very difficult week. None of us were surprised that this past Tuesday, Ducey-appointed judges, the Arizona Supreme Court, took us back to 1864. We were not surprised because that is the intention that they had from the very beginning. It is times like these that we need to reach out to each other, to our families, to our friends, to our neighbors, hold each other's hands, and fight together. The Arizona Supreme Court decision is devastating to women, girls, and Arizonans. This near total abortion ban puts the lives of people across our state at risk. This is a huge step backwards, and let's not misunderstand. This decision is about control. Control over women and control over our bodies. We know that criminalizing abortion will not stop people from having abortions. It will simply make them unsafe. People in our state are angry and confused. The doctors of our state could be facing prison. Let me be absolutely clear when I say we are in this situation because of Donald Trump. The women of Tucson and people across Arizona don't have access to abortion or reproductive health care we deserve because of Donald Trump. We deserve the right to have autonomy over our own bodies. It is the most important human right we have. If we can't make decisions over our own bodies, we are creating a class of people across our country whose rights are different in every state. And that, my friends, is absolutely wrong. And we shouldn't take it sitting down. Here in Arizona, a Ducey-appointed Supreme Court delivered a near total abortion ban. Just like Donald Trump pick Supreme Court justices he promised would overturn Roe versus Wade. He took credit for overturning it. And he paved the way for women's rights to be attacked across our entire country. And they are not going to stop, folks. They are not going to stop. The MAGA Republican attempts to ban or restrict or criminalize abortion does not change the fact that access to abortion is needed. It is essential and even life-saving. And Donald Trump's attempt to strip away our reproductive freedoms does not change the fact that 9 out of 10 Arizonans agree that people deserve the right to have access to abortion and reproductive health care. Arizonans believe, and we believe, that politicians like Donald Trump shouldn't be in the middle of that decision. Again, if we cannot make decisions about our own bodies ourselves, then what is it that we have? What type of human rights do we have? Because of Donald Trump, millions of women, girls, and people across our country have lost fundamental freedoms to control their own bodies. And now our lives are in danger because of that. The question is, if Donald Trump is returned to the White House, what freedom do we lose next? President Biden and our wonderful, dear Vice President Harris believe that your rights and personal freedoms are worth protecting. President Biden and Vice President Harris are fighting like hell to restore women's fundamental freedoms in this country. But they cannot do it alone. They need each and every one of us. Women and our families everywhere are going to need to turn out to vote because our collective fundamental freedoms are under attack, and we need each and every one of you, each and every one of your family members, each and every one of our daughters, each and every one of our neighbors. We need to turn out, and guess what? The secret, and it's not a secret anymore, the secret, or not secret anymore, to winning Arizona is through Tucson. So we need you all to vote. We need you all to vote, and we need to make sure that President Biden and Vice President Harris return to the White House in 2024. So let's get energized. Let's get this frustration and anger and energize ourselves and our communities and our families to make this state blue again. Welcome to Tucson, Vice President Harris. I'm so happy to have you here, and we will win through Tucson. We will win Arizona in 2024. Gracias.
Please welcome State Senator Eva Birch.
Hello, everybody. My name is Senator Eva Birch. I am a legislator, I am a medical provider, and I am an abortion patient. I am so honored to be here today with so many other champions for reproductive freedom, including, of course, Vice President Kamala Harris. Last month, as many of you probably already know, I shared my abortion story. I wanted to be pregnant, but my pregnancy was not viable. I shared this story on the floor of the Arizona Senate. I didn't do that because I thought I should have to. I am exhausted of explaining myself to people who want to make my decisions for me. But it was an opportunity to bring people with me and to break open the conversation about abortion care and abortion patients. After I shared my story, I received a phone call from Vice President Harris. And she thanked me for sharing my most personal moments to the world. And I was struck with this memory of sitting on my couch, sandwiched between my two little boys, with tears rolling down my cheeks, watching the first female vice president be sworn into office. And at that moment, I realized just how lucky we are as a country to have compassionate and brave leaders like Vice President Harris, who understand the true harms of abortion bans on women across this country, on women like me. I know that it's hard for people to share the most private moments of their lives in a time when they are feeling loss, when they're feeling vulnerability. But it's moments like those that remind people of how much is at stake if we don't speak out. And today I am livid that in spite of all of our progress, we have rolled the clock back 160 years here in Arizona. The decision about when and how to start a family belongs to all of us as individuals. It belongs to me and to nobody else. And now that decision, yeah, you know what? Me. It belongs to me. But now that decision is being stripped away by extremist politicians and extremist judges. And the decision is going to criminalize doctors and providers for doing their jobs. Under no circumstances should the Supreme Court of Arizona have even dignified an effort to impose a complete ban on abortion that was drafted before women had a say. Women, we are going to have our say. This decision is a hurdle in the fight for reproductive freedoms, but it will not set us back if we keep pushing forward. And I know you all know that there's a ballot initiative that Arizonans are currently collecting signatures for that would enshrine abortion access into the Constitution. We have to make that a primary focus for us in November. And because Arizona is an absolute battleground, it is the battleground for abortion here in this country, we have a real opportunity to flip both the House and the Senate here on the local level. For the sake of Arizona families, we cannot let extremist Republicans hold on to power for even one more year. We have to flip the state legislature and restore access to reproductive freedom here once and for all, and we must re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to protect abortion not only just here in Arizona, but nationwide. I want to thank you all for being here with us today, but please stay with us until November. When? November. When? When? November! Stay with us. Thank you.
Please welcome reproductive health care advocate Yesenia Gamez.
Hi, thank you everyone for being here today. Good afternoon, and thank you again for being here today at such an important time in reproductive rights for our state and our country. My name is Yesenia Gamez Gamboa. I'm a local immigration attorney and a native TUCSONan, and today I'm here to tell you my abortion story. In October of 2021, 2 weeks after my now husband left for his second deployment, I found out that I was 4 weeks pregnant. However, I quickly realized that something wasn't right. And after 3 weeks of doctor's visits and ultrasounds and many, many blood tests, my doctor told me that I had an ectopic pregnancy and that it was not viable. An ectopic pregnancy happens anytime that the embryo attaches itself outside of the uterus, and in my case, it was my left fallopian tube. When left untreated, ectopic pregnancies can be life-threatening, so eventually my fallopian tube could burst and I would need emergency surgery. Luckily, the very next day, I was able to go into the hospital and get an abortion. After 3 hours in the hospital, I got a methotrexate shot, which, by the way, hurts, and I was able to go home. The easiest part of this whole ordeal was my abortion. Access to a quick and safe abortion saved my life and my fertility, and now because of that, my husband and I are turning to IVF to start our family. However, 7 months after my abortion, in June of 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court delivered their decision overturning Roe v. Wade and taking away rights that we have relied on for 50 years. There's one person responsible for that decision, and that is Donald Trump. He continues to brag about his role in unleashing extreme abortion bans across the country. This very week, the Arizona Supreme Court issued a ruling reviving a near total abortion ban from 1864. Exactly. The Arizona Supreme Court's decision makes me very, very afraid. Afraid that my doctor will be too scared to perform an abortion as promptly as last time. Afraid to walk around with a ticking time bomb until I need emergency surgery. Or afraid that by the time that my life is in enough danger to get medical assistance, it will be too late. My story is not the only one, however. Many women in the state have been making the same decisions and grappling with the same heartbreak that I did. Their stories matter and are the reason we cannot give up the fight for reproductive rights in this state and in this country. And with that, it is my honor to introduce our champion, a historic leader in the fight for reproductive freedom who warned of this, who is fighting for us, who is prosecuting the case against Donald Trump, the first woman vice president in U.S. history, Kamala Harris.
Give it up for Yesenia. Good afternoon, Arizona. Good afternoon. Can we give it up for Yesenia, please? You know, it takes so much courage, and we've seen this from women around the country, to tell what is a private, personal matter. And you do it for the sake of all of the people who must hear and must understand, and to remind so many women that they're not alone. You're a great leader. Thank you, Yesenia. Where is Mayor Romero? There she is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're an extremely extraordinary leader. The mayor and her daughter met me on the tarmac as Doug and I got off of Air Force Two. And I want to thank you for the warm welcome and for your courageous leadership as well. It's good to be here. It's good to be back. Thank you. And it is good to be here with the next United States Senator from this state of Arizona, Ruben Gallego. And I have worked with Ruben, and I will tell you, he is a tireless fighter for the people and families of Arizona and an essential partner to President Biden and me. Representative Grijalva wanted to be here today. I know that we are all praying for him. His wife is here, and I said to her, you know, the thing I love about Raul, he is such a fighter, and he's a street fighter. Like, he is a fighter. He is a fighter. And so we know he's going to be okay, and we are thinking of him as he begins his treatment for cancer. I want to thank as well my dear friend and the president of Reproductive Freedom for All, Minnie Timaraju. Where is she? Thank you, Minnie, for your leadership. And a special thank you to all the organizers in Arizona who are collecting signatures to put the right to reproductive freedom on the ballot and in the state constitution. And to the thousands of organizers from across our nation who are joining us virtually today. And I also want to thank the Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, and all the other leaders of the Arizona State Legislature, including, of course, Senator Eva Bursch, who so bravely shared her story. Thank you for your incredible courage and determination. Arizona. This fight is about freedom. This fight is about freedom. And the freedom that is fundamental to the promise of America. The promise of America is a promise of freedom. In America, freedom is not to be given. It is not to be bestowed. It is ours by right. And that includes the freedom to make decisions about one's own body and not have the government telling people what to do. However, as we know, almost 2 years ago, the highest court in our land, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America. And now in states across our country, extremists have proposed and passed laws that criminalize doctors and punish women. Laws that threaten doctors and nurses with prison time, even for life, simply for providing reproductive care. And then just this week, here in Arizona, they have turned back the clock to the 1800s to take away a woman's most fundamental right, the right to make decisions about her own body. This decision by the Arizona State Supreme Court now means women here, the women here, live under one of the most extreme abortion bans in our nation. No exception for rape or incest, prison time for doctors and nurses, and abortion made illegal before most women even know they're pregnant. The overturning of Roe was, without any question, a seismic event. And this ban here in Arizona is one of the biggest aftershocks yet. And understand, this law was passed in the 1800s before Arizona was even a state, before women could even vote. What has happened here in Arizona is a new inflection point. It has demonstrated once and for all that overturning Roe was just the opening act, of a larger strategy to take women's rights and freedoms, part of a full-on attack, state by state, on reproductive freedom. And And we all must understand who is to blame. Former President Donald Trump did this. During his campaign in 2016, Donald Trump said women should be punished for seeking an abortion. Don't forget that. He said women should be punished. As President Donald Trump handpicked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court because he intended for them to overturn Roe, and as he intended, they did. And now, because of Donald Trump, more than 20 states in our nation have bans. Now, because of Donald Trump, 1 in 3 women of reproductive age in our country live in a state that has a Trump abortion ban. And let us understand the impact of these Trump abortion bans, the horrific reality that women face every single day now in our country. Because since Roe was overturned, we all know the stories, and I'll tell you, I have met women who were refused care during a miscarriage. I met a woman who went to the emergency room and was turned away repeatedly because the doctors were afraid they might be thrown in jail for helping her. And it was only when she developed sepsis that she received care. I visited a clinic in Minnesota and met with courageous, dedicated medical professionals who see clinics like theirs forced to close, denying women across our country access to essential and life-saving care, breast cancer screenings, contraceptive care, PAPs. Donald Trump is the architect of this healthcare crisis. And that is not a fact, by the way, that he hides. In fact, he brags about it. Just this week, he said that he is, quote, proudly the person responsible for overturning Roe. Proudly responsible for the pain and suffering of millions of women and families. Proudly responsible that he took your freedoms. And just minutes ago, standing beside Speaker Johnson, Donald Trump just said the collection of state bans is, quote, working the way it is supposed to. And as much harm as he has already caused, a second Trump term would be even worse. Donald Trump's friends in the United States Congress are trying to pass a national ban. And understand, a national ban would outlaw abortion in every state, even states like New York and California. And now Trump wants us to believe he will not sign a national ban. Enough with the gaslighting. Enough with the gaslighting. We all know if Donald Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban. And how do we know? Just look at his record. Just look at the facts. Y'all know I'm a former prosecutor. Just look at the facts. Congress tried to pass a national abortion ban in 2017. And the then President, Trump, endorsed it and promised to sign it if it got on his desk. Well, the great Maya Angelou once said, when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Donald Trump has told us who he is. And notice that Team Trump have an additional plan to attack reproductive freedom, a plan that they intend to implement on day one, even without Congress. They want to use another law from the 1800s, it's called the Comstock Act, to ban medication across all 50 states, no matter if it's currently legal or not. So here's what a second Trump term looks like. More bans, more suffering, and less freedom. Just like he did in Arizona, he basically wants to take America back to the 1800s. But we are not going to let that happen. Because here's the deal. This is 2024, not the 1800s, and we're not going back. We are not going back. Joe Biden and I trust women to know what is in their own best interest. And women trust all of us to fight to protect their most fundamental freedoms. So Arizona, this November, up and down the ballot, reproductive freedom is at stake. And you have the power to protect it with your vote. It is your power. It is your power that will put this right in the Arizona state constitution and elect a state legislature who will defend freedom, not try to take it away. It is your power that will send leaders like Ruben Gallego to the United States Senate and help secure a majority of members in the United States Congress who simply agree. This is all we want. Simply agree that the government should not be making these personal decisions for other people. And it is your power that will send Joe Biden and me back to the White House. And when Congress passes a law that restores the reproductive freedoms of Roe, Joe Biden will sign it into law. So in conclusion, I say, it is going to take all of us to get there. It's going to take every single one of us. And momentum is on our side. Think about it. Since Roe was overturned, every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, the people of America have voted for freedom. Think about it. From Kansas to California to Kentucky, in Michigan, Montana, Vermont, and Ohio, the people of America have voted for freedom. And not just by a little, but often by overwhelming margins, proving also that this is not just a partisan issue, proving that the voice of the people has been heard and will be heard. So today I ask, Arizona, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we trust women? Do we believe in reproductive freedom? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. God bless you.